This was in January 2008 when I arrived, and arriving around midnight or 11:30 in Umeå. And when my first encountering with the snow was the sound of CRISPR in the snow when I was walking, and this was the day before I needed to defend my project that I wanted to continue at Umeå University. And I decided to also go a little bit around the city and visit, and went to a supermarket and found a crisp salad, because I like very much salads. And then there was again crisp, so it gave me the confidence that I needed to come to Umeå to work on CRISPR and continue my work on CRISPR.
Looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of CRISPR-Cas9?
It's interesting, because if I reflect to 13 years ago when I was asked this question, I will say exactly the same. So what I was saying more than 10 years ago has revealed to be true, in the sense that already at the time, very, very fast, the technology was developed to find to find solutions for agriculture, for medicine, for biotechnologies, to allow researchers to understand better the function of genes and the biological mechanisms. And after 10 years, it's still going on. So it has proven to be very beneficial for medicine, whether directly or indirectly, to research and development in different fields of life sciences. And it continues to be beneficial, because scientists can read every week new aspects of the development of the technology, of applications of the technology.
So far, of the many applications of the gene editing tool, I think there's somewhat 1,000 patents today, or even more. Which one of all these applications are you so far most pleased with?
My vision of applications of the CRISPR system, if it had to be developed into a technology. And among the technologies that I was the most, in love with, the applications I was the most in love with were for sure applications in medicine and to treat human genetic disorders. And this is what actually occurred at the end of 2022. So 10 years after the understanding of the fact that the CRISPR-Cas system, this bacterial system, was developed into a technology. So it's CRISPR gene therapy to treat blood disorders such as sickle cell anemia and beta thalassemia. And this medicine, this cure, that really saves patients having sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, at least for those who have the chance to have access to the cure.
That's science for life.
It's science for life.
Is there actually any limit for the CRISPR-Cas9 technology, more than ethical?
It's a very large panel of applications where one could think it's unlimited, in regard to the fact that, we find more and more, for example, new genetic disorders, because we understand more the genetic basis of certain disorders that are rare, for example, and where CRISPR could potentially be used as a new type of medicine. And the more we understand the biological mechanisms behind life, the more we give even more applications to CRISPR, and the more we think also in terms of sustainability of potential new approaches to allow to have, to save the environment and have an agriculture that is more sustainable. We also find more applications for CRISPR. So the need, in a way, provides more means for the technology. The more there will be needs, the more we will reflect on whether CRISPR can help find solution for this need. Now, with regard to ethical questions, these are the same than 15 years ago, but these are the same than 60 years ago when we understood that the molecular biology was allowing us to to develop genetic technologies already 50, 60 years ago with the cloning and other types of methodologies that have been used for years now by biologists, where those technologies were also questioned at the end of the 60s, beginning 70s. Would there be dangerous in terms of ethical way to create a new human or etc. And CRISPR is just an additional technology that revives these concerns.
How would you describe the research culture in Umeå?
Yeah, so everyone who has experienced Umeå would agree to say that this is particular, maybe because Umeå is isolated and therefore the scientists feel that to be winners, they need more to work together and be cooperative with one another rather than being against one another, which one could experience in other places. I mean, it's not as bad as what I said, but what I want to say is that there is really a sense of community. What I found very remarkable here in Umeå, which always I found quite peculiar, is that scientists are really happy when another scientist is successful in getting a grant or in having the chance to publish an article, even in a low impact factor journal or in a high impact factor journal. There is really this pride and this happiness for the other, because there is a sense of always reflecting on it's good for Umeå, it's good for the community, it's good for us. If it's good for you, it's good for us, it's good for the community. And I think it's very agreeable. And also the fact that I think here maybe, we're a little bit out of the world. So sometimes one loses the connection of time in dark winters and in very long days of summer. So maybe physiologically it affects maybe people and the understanding that time is necessary for good science and the value of good science. The projects and the reason why to do science is valued more than the rules of the criteria in our days that are also papers and impact factors. At least this was what I experienced when I was in Umeå.
How do you think Umeå University should act to preserve and build upon the legacy of your work and discovery in order to attract promising researchers also in the future?
So again, I hope and I understand that the overall culture is still the culture that I was privileged to experience. So I think it's more about to have this culture, flourishing in Umeå, allowing newcomers to come and feel welcome. It's not difficult to attract scientists for the science that is done in Umeå, because everyone visiting would realize that there is everything in Umeå. Everything, it's organized in a way that one can do multidisciplinary science. It's very easy to collaborate, to go to a department, to go to a lab. So I would like to do so, people helping you. It's a very exquisite environment for this, and everyone appreciates the fact that every type of science can be done in Umeå.
Generally speaking, very broadly, what's your vision for science in the world community today as we watch what's happening globally?
We know how much science has contributed to the world we are living in with all the technologies we are using every day. But specifically, if I focus, for example, on medicine, the development over the past 50 years of medicine through really the possibility to cure cancer, which was not possible, certain types of cancer at least, which was not possible 50 years ago. And all the medical field that has progressed tremendously over the past 50 years. It's quite puzzling to not reflect on the fact that if you have those developments, it's obviously thanks to research science at large. Medical research done in academia, in pharmaceutical industries, in clinical labs. It's surprising to me to see people being unfortunately influenced by certain movements trying to explain them that science is fake, that science is not real, that vaccines are bad, that it's obviously a good idea to not fund any longer research on cancer and infectious diseases. So it's very surprising, and I wish the people would reflect on and will use actually just their common sense. If they use their common sense and if they observe, they will understand that what they benefit from and what allows them to live and to cure themselves even of certain metabolic disorders now, etc. It's thanks to science, medicine, science at large.
And what can the scientific world, the scientific community make to counteract this tendency in the modern society?
That is a very interesting question, because I think it's not new that scientists are maybe not that proactive to defend their field. Maybe this is due to the essence of the work that is quite competitive, and that is that we always need to be on the go and work and produce. And maybe we should raise our voice as a community, and maybe stop for a while and explain what we are doing. For sure, if research at large will stop for 1 month, the world will really realize the consequence of it. Not that it should be a solution, but it's true that it is a time where scientists have to ask about their responsibilities, and maybe their responsibilities towards the society, and to find ways to raise voices and explain what science is about.
Communication.
Communication, exactly.